My name is Cecelia Brooks, 30 years old.
If you looked at my life from the outside, you'd think I had everything together: a stable job, a loving boyfriend, an apartment filled with light and laughter. But anyone who's lived long enough knows how deceiving appearances can be. Sometimes the quietest homes hold the loudest secrets.
Ethan Cole and I had been together for 2 years, living in my apartment for the last one. On the surface, things were steady, maybe even enviable. But underneath, there was always this quiet current of anxiety, like I was constantly being tested against some invisible standard. Ethan had a gift for charm, but also for control. Everything had to be just right: the image, the timing, the story. I told myself it was ambition. Now I know it was performance. A few weeks ago, he came home one evening, flushed with excitement. "My company's chosen me for a leadership retreat," he said, waving a sleek brochure in my face. "Mandatory weekend trip. 3 days of workshops and networking. It's a big step for me." The brochure showed a luxury resort outside the city: golf course, spa, infinity pools. I smiled because that's what supportive girlfriends do. "That's amazing, Ethan. You deserve it." I helped him pack, watched him zip up his suitcase, and kissed him goodbye on Friday morning. As he walked down the hall, pulling that suitcase behind him, I felt this strange ache. Not sadness, not even suspicion, just emptiness. Like something had quietly shifted, and I couldn't name it yet. The apartment felt heavier after he left. I told myself I was being paranoid, that I trusted him. But somewhere deep inside, something didn't sit right. On Saturday, my friend Tina called. She does weekend deliveries for Uber Eats to pay off her car loan. "Dan, I'm stuck. My mom just fell and they're taking her to the ER. Can you finish my last order for me? Please, it's prepaid, already in the car." I hesitated, then laughed. "You want me to play delivery girl for a day?" "Just one drop off," she pleaded. "It's near downtown. You'd be a lifesaver." So I agreed. 10 minutes later, I was sitting in Tina's old hatchback, the smell of takeout clinging to the air. I turned on the Uber Eats app, saw the last order: name, Chloe, address, Riverfront Towers, 27th floor. I almost didn't notice the address at first. It was just another glass and steel condo building. But as I drove, something flickered in the back of my mind. I'd seen that street name before, somewhere in Ethan's text messages maybe. A contact saved as Chloe H., work. I shook it off. Coincidence. Probably dozens of Chloes in the city. The building's lobby was pristine, marble floors, perfumed air. The concierge smiled as I signed in. "Delivery for Chloe Harper," I said, my voice too bright. "Go right up," he replied. "She's expecting it." She's expecting it. The words echoed in my mind as I rode the elevator up. My heart started to beat a little too fast. The doors opened on the 27th floor. I followed the numbers until I reached the right door. A faint thrum of music played inside, low, sultry, familiar. I balanced the bag in my hand and rang the bell. The seconds that followed stretched like elastic. Then the door swung open, and my world tilted. Ethan stood there, barefoot, shirt unbuttoned, and not alone. Behind him, in the soft spill of light from the living room, stood a woman. Brunette, silk robe, the kind of polished beauty you only see in advertisements. She looked from me to him, confusion spreading across her face. I froze. For one wild second, I thought I was hallucinating. "Ethan?" His color drained. "Cecelia?" The silence that followed was excruciating. It was Chloe. I recognized her now from the photos he'd once shown me. My coworker, he'd said back then, basically like my sister. Except his sister was standing barefoot in her own apartment, his shirt draped over her shoulders. Chloe blinked. "Wait, you said you broke up with her?" Ethan's mouth opened and closed, his voice a trembling whisper. "Chloe, I dropped the delivery bag. It hit the floor with a dull thud, spilling sauce across the marble. My body was trembling, but my voice came out cold. "A business retreat, right? 3 hours out of town?" He reached toward me. "Cecelia, let me explain." "No." My voice cracked like glass. "Explain what? That you lied to both of us? That you used my apartment, my money, my trust?" Chloe's face twisted. "You told me she was your crazy ex, that she wouldn't stop calling." The air thickened with rage and betrayal. For a moment, the two of us, me and Chloe, were no longer rivals, just women realizing we'd been played by the same man. Ethan stammered, cornered. "You're both overreacting. This isn't what it looks like." "It looks exactly like what it is," I snapped. "You're a liar, Ethan." He took a step closer, lowering his voice as if to regain control. Don't make a scene, Cecelia. You're embarrassing yourself. That was the moment something inside me hardened. The love I'd carried, the hope I'd nurtured, all of it turned to ash. I looked him dead in the eye. You're right, I said quietly. I am done embarrassing myself. Then I turned to Chloe, who looked like she'd just watched her reality shatter. You should check his phone, Chloe. He's probably got a whole archive of stories just like this one. I stepped back, inhaled the sterile air of the hallway, and walked away before either of them could say another word. Behind me, I heard Ethan call my name, once, twice, but I didn't turn around. In that silence, something in me broke, and something else began. This wasn't just heartbreak, it was an awakening. I didn't sleep that night. I sat on the couch, wrapped in silence, watching the clock blink past midnight. Every corner of the apartment felt haunted, his coffee mug still in the sink, his cologne clinging to the air, his shoes by the door like nothing had happened. The world outside moved on, but inside, time was stuck on that elevator ride up to the 27th floor. By dawn, the ache had hardened into resolve. Love was gone. All that was left was the truth, and the clean break I was about to make. The first thing I did was change the locks. The locksmith arrived at 8 a.m., cheerful and oblivious. Rough breakup? He asked lightly as he drilled. You could say that, I replied. By 10, Ethan's key was useless metal. Then I started packing. Not carefully, not with tenderness. I pulled out heavy-duty black trash bags and began erasing him from my space. Shirts, watches, cologne, even his stack of pretentious business books. Every item hit the bottom of a bag like a sentence being closed. By noon, 30 bags lined the living room wall. My hands shook from exhaustion, but I kept going. I was done letting him take up air in my life. The phone started buzzing around 9 the night before. Texts, calls, emails. Ethan. Please, can we talk? Ethan. You don't understand what happened. Ethan. You're blowing this out of proportion. I didn't answer. Then came the guilt messages. You're ruining my life. You're making this harder than it needs to be. Typical. The kind of man who lights a match and blames the fire on the wind. At midnight, my doorbell camera lit up. Ethan, disheveled, angry, pounding on the door. Cecelia, open up. We need to fix this. I watched from the couch as he shouted into the camera, his face red with frustration. When he realized I wasn't coming to the door, his voice turned sharp, mocking. You'll regret this. You're throwing away everything we built. No, he was. At 12:45, I sent one message. Your things are packed. They'll be on the curb at 8 a.m. Anything left after noon goes to the dump. Then I blocked his number. The next morning, I dragged the bags down to the sidewalk one by one. The neighbors peeked through curtains, whispering. I didn't care. Each trip felt lighter. Each step a release. By 9, I saw him from my window, standing on the curb with Chloe, staring at the pile like it was his own grave. She looked humiliated, tired, betrayed in her own way. They spoke quietly, then started loading the bags into her car. The entire scene felt poetic. The two of them, tangled in the mess they made together. When they drove away, I felt nothing. Not triumph, not sadness, just clean air. But peace, I learned, doesn't come without a fight. 2 days later, the whispers started. Mutual friends texting me in awkward tones. Hey, I heard what happened. Are you okay? Ethan says you went crazy on him? It didn't take long to realize what he was doing, rewriting the story. In his version, I was the jealous ex who'd shown up at his friend's place uninvited, caused a scene, and thrown his belongings out in a rage. The rage part wasn't wrong, but the lies, they burned. For a day, I considered staying silent, let the gossip rot on its own, but then I remembered the look in Chloe's eyes that day, confusion giving way to disgust when she realized the truth. If anyone knew how manipulative he could be, it was her. And then, like fate, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. Chloe, I'm sorry, I didn't know. He lied to both of us. Attached were screenshots, hundreds of messages. Ethan telling her he was single, that I was stalking him, that I refused to move on. She'd found out everything after I left and kicked him out of her apartment. Chloe, you don't owe me forgiveness, but you deserve the truth. I stared at my screen for a long time. Then I took a deep breath and started screenshotting everything. That night, I sent a single message to our mutual group chat, the one Ethan used to charm everyone with weekend brunches and fake smiles. For anyone who's heard Ethan's version, here's the truth. Straight from the woman he cheated with. Attached were Chloe's screenshots. The silence afterward was delicious.
Within an hour, my phone lit up with messages of apology, outrage, support. Ethan's social circle began to crumble from the inside. The narrative flipped overnight. He tried to call again. New numbers, burner accounts, even email aliases. Every time I blocked them. He didn't deserve access to my peace. For a week, I thought it was finally over. But men like Ethan don't vanish quietly. It happened the night before a major presentation, my first big project since the breakup. I'd been working late when suddenly my Wi-Fi went dead. No signal, no connection. I rebooted the router 3 times before calling my provider. The rep on the phone said, "Ma'am, your service was canceled today by an authorized user." My heart sank. Ethan. He still had access to the old account info, and I'd been too busy to change it. A deliberate act of sabotage, calculated to make me fail. That night, I finished my project using my phone's hotspot, adrenaline holding me together like glue. The next morning, I woke up shaking, not from fear, but from fury. The line had been crossed. He could lie, he could manipulate, but this was personal. He wanted a war? He was about to get one. By sunrise, I wasn't crying anymore. I wasn't pacing or replaying his words or wondering what I could have done differently. I was focused, sharp in a way only betrayal can make you. Ethan thought he could keep twisting the story, that he still had control. He didn't realize that once a woman hits her limit, she stops playing by the old rules. I opened my laptop and started gathering everything. Screenshots of his messages, recordings of his late-night voicemails, even the call log from my internet provider showing who had canceled the service. It wasn't just revenge anymore, it was self-defense. Still, part of me hesitated. I didn't want to see him again, but I needed to end it, in person, once and for all. So I drove to Chloe's apartment, where I knew he'd been staying since she kicked him out, but was too soft to evict him completely. My hands were steady on the wheel, but my heart pounded like a drum. When I reached her building, I didn't even buzz. I knocked, hard. The door opened, and there he was, rumpled, barefoot, the arrogance dulled, but not gone. His smile was that same fake softness he always used when he wanted to disarm me. "Cecelia, hey, you look good." "Save it," I said flatly. Chloe appeared behind him, her expression wary. "What's going on?" I held up my phone. "I'll tell you what's going on. My internet was canceled yesterday. The company confirmed it was done by someone using my old account credentials, the ones you had." Ethan blinked. "What are you talking about? I didn't—" I played the recording, the rep confirming the cancellation. Then I hit play on the voicemail from his father a week earlier, one filled with veiled threats. His face went pale. Chloe's too. "You can stop pretending," I said, voice steady now. "You lied to both of us. You tried to destroy my reputation, and now you're trying to mess with my work. That ends today." He laughed nervously, a hollow sound. "You're being dramatic again. You always do this." "Don't." My tone sliced through the air. "One more word, Ethan, and I go to the police. I have proof of harassment, defamation, and sabotage. Every text, every call, every little game you've played." The room fell silent. Chloe looked from him to me and stepped aside. "Cecelia, I believe you. I've seen what he's capable of." He turned on her instantly. "You're taking her side now?" Chloe's voice broke. "You lied to me too. You told me she was some obsessed ex. You made me feel sorry for you." He looked cornered, like a man watching his reflection shatter. I took one step closer, calm and cold. "You're going to leave me alone. No more calls, no more messages, no more sabotage. Because if I so much as feel your shadow again, I'll take every piece of evidence I have straight to the police and your employer." His jaw tightened. "You wouldn't." "Try me." For a long, tense moment, he just stared. Then he muttered, "Fine," and turned away, slamming his hand against the counter in frustration. I didn't flinch. I'd seen the worst of him already. When I turned to leave, Chloe's voice stopped me. "Cecelia, I'm sorry. I wish I'd known sooner." I nodded. "You did what I used to do. You believed him." Then I walked out. The air outside hit like baptism. Cold, clean, final. The city hummed around me, alive and indifferent. I'd expected some kind of relief, but what I felt was quieter, deeper, not victory, just peace. That night, back in my apartment, I lit a candle, something simple, vanilla and amber, and sat by the window. My laptop glowed on the table beside me, project files open, Wi-Fi restored. My career was intact, my sanity reclaimed. I scrolled through the photos on my phone, the ones I hadn't yet deleted. Us smiling at brunch,
him asleep on my shoulder. Me, always trying to look happy enough to make it true. Then I selected them all and pressed delete. No hesitation, no second thoughts, just silence, the kind that feels earned. For the first time in months, I breathed without the weight of explanation. What he meant for destruction became the reason I found myself again. What I thought was an ending was only a release. They say closure comes from understanding, but sometimes closure comes from walking away and never looking back. I whispered into the quiet. When you stop begging for closure, life gives it to you, in silence. Then I smiled, not the kind I wore for him, the kind that belonged only to me.